Have you ever heard someone say that Andre the Giant's daughter was even bigger than him? That she somehow grew taller than her 7-foot for wrestling legend father? Well, I need to be honest with you right now. That's not true. Robin Christensen-Roussimou stands at 5 feet 11 inches tall. She's not bigger than Andre. Not even close. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why Robin might actually be bigger than her father in a way nobody talks about. And trust me, it's not what you think. But first, we need to talk about Andre himself. Not Andre the wrestler. Andre the person. The real human being most people never got to see. Andre René Roussimou was born on May 19, 1946, in a small French town. His family was poor. They worked on farms just to survive. Andre was one of 5 children, but all his siblings grew normally. Andre was different from a start. People assume Andre was just some big tough guy, but that's completely wrong. Andre was brilliant. Math was his favorite subject. He could solve problems faster than most kids his age. He wasn't just the big kid in class. He was one of the smartest kids too. And Andre played soccer. He was a goalkeeper on his school team. People who knew him say it was basically impossible to score on him. By age 10, he was already 6 feet tall. Imagine trying to score past a 6-foot-tall 10-year-old. Here's something that sounds made up, but it's true. Andre's neighbor used to give him rides to school. That neighbor was Samuel Beckett, the famous writer, the Nobel Prize winner, and he used to drive young Andre to school. How wild is that? By age 12, Andre was 6 feet 3 inches tall. He kept growing and growing. Something was clearly wrong, but nobody knew what. Not yet, anyway. Andre's father made him quit school at 14. The family needed money. Andre was strong enough to do the work of 3 men. So he became a full-time farm worker. He didn't want to quit. He liked learning, but his family needed him. At 17, Andre moved to Paris. He met a wrestling promoter who saw something special in this giant teenager. The promoter saw fame and money. Andre saw a way out, a way to make his difference into an advantage. So he became a wrestler. And slowly, Andre René Roussimou became Andre the Giant. But Andre didn't choose to be a giant. By his mid-teens, something was wrong with his body. He kept growing when he should have stopped. His hands got bigger. His feet got bigger. Everything kept expanding. It would take years before he learned the truth. And by then, it was too late. Andre had a condition called acromegaly. It's a disorder where your body makes too much growth hormone. Your bones just keep growing when they should stop. Andre's shoe size was 22. When he held a beer can, it looked like a tiny toy. He couldn't dial a phone with his fingers. He had to use a pencil. Traveling was torture. Andre traveled over 300 days a year for wrestling, but he couldn't fit in airplane bathrooms. So he had to use a bucket. Car rides were agony. His back and neck would be so stiff after hours in a normal car that he could barely move. The worst part? Andre was in constant pain. His back hurt all the time, because his skeleton was carrying more weight than it was designed for. Other wrestlers would slam him and throw him around. Every bit of it hurt more than it would hurt a normal person. So Andre drank a lot. People say he could drink 100 beers in one sitting. But his co-star from The Princess Bride said something important. Andre wasn't drinking just to drink. He was drinking because he was in pain, constant pain. And alcohol was the only thing that helped. Doctors confirmed his acromegaly in 1981. By then, there were treatments. They couldn't shrink him, but they could help him live longer. But Andre refused treatment. He was scared it would mess with his wrestling career. Wrestling was everything to him, so he chose his career over his health. Andre became world famous in the 1970s and 80s. He made millions. He became a movie star in The Princess Bride. He was perfect as Fezzik. But filming was hard. His back hurt so bad he couldn't do his own stunts. They had to use cables to lift him. But Andre loved that movie. He carried a videotape of it everywhere. Because for once, he got to be the hero. Now, let's talk about the question that breaks everyone's heart. Why did Andre only meet his daughter 5 times in her entire life? Robin was born from Andre's relationship with Jean Christensen. Jean worked in wrestling public relations. She was over 6 feet 4 inches tall herself. That's probably why they connected. She understood what it was like to be different. When Robin was born, Andre didn't believe she was his daughter at first. He made Jean do a paternity test. Only after it proved Robin was his did he accept it. Can you imagine how that felt? But we can't just call Andre a bad dad. The truth is more complicated. Andre was on the road over 300 days a year, constantly traveling, constantly in pain. He couldn't even fit on a normal airplane comfortably. How was he supposed to be a present father when he could barely take care of himself? And here's something nobody talks about. Andre grew up without his father around much either. He probably didn't know how to be a present father, because he never had an example. Robin and Andre only met 5 times. They talked on the phone sometimes. When he had matches near Seattle, he'd see her. But it wasn't enough. Robin has said she wishes they had more time. She thinks they could have been closer if he lived longer. But he didn't. On January 28, 1993, Andre died in a Paris hotel room. He was only 46. The cause was congestive heart failure. His heart gave out because his body couldn't handle his size anymore. And here's the cruel part. Robin didn't find out right away. She and her mom found out a month later from a lawyer's message on their answering machine. Your father dies, and you find out a month later from a voicemail. That's how distant their relationship was. It's heartbreaking. But here's where the story changes. When Andre died, he left everything to Robin. His whole estate. Despite only meeting 5 times, despite the paternity test, despite everything, he made her his main heir. Robin could have just taken the money and disappeared. But she didn't. She chose to protect her father's legacy. She chose to tell his real story. Robin tried wrestling for a while, but it didn't work out. So she moved into acting and production. Most importantly, she started working on documentaries about her father. She made sure people knew the real Andre, not just the giant, the person. The 2018 documentary, Andre the Giant, Robin was heavily involved. She made sure they got the story right. She made sure people understood his pain and his humanity, because the world wanted to remember him as a circus act. And Robin said no. My father was a person, and you're going to know his real story. That takes courage. To take control of your father's legacy when you barely knew him. To protect the memory of someone who wasn't there for you. That's incredibly hard. So let's go back to the original question. Is Robin bigger than Andre? Physically? No. Robin is 5 feet 11 inches tall. She weighs about 220 pounds. That's tall for a woman. But compared to her father? Not even close. Andre was over 7 feet tall. He weighed 400 to 500 pounds. He was massive. Robin is just tall. But here's what Robin is. She's tall enough to understand being different. Tall enough to stand out. But she's not so tall that the world doesn't fit her. She's not so different that she can't live a normal life. And that's the difference. Robin is bigger than Andre in the one way that actually matters. She has something Andre never had. Choice. She can choose to be in the spotlight or step away. She can choose to honor her father or ignore him. She can choose her own path. Andre was trapped by his size. Every single day was decided by his body. Where he could sit, how he could travel, what jobs he could do. He didn't get to choose. His size chose for him. But Robin gets to choose. She chose to try wrestling. She chose to leave it. She chose acting. She chose documentaries. She chose to live in Seattle away from the spotlight. She chose privacy. She chose peace. Andre the Giant was 7 feet 4 inches tall. Robin is 5 feet 11 inches. But the size that actually matters? The space they occupy in history? That's not measured in feet and inches. Andre was trapped. Robin is free. Andre was controlled by his condition. Robin is in control of her life. Andre's size defined him. Robin defines herself. So no, Robin is not physically bigger than her father. But she has something bigger. Agency. Choice. Freedom. She inherited her father's money. But more importantly, she inherited the responsibility of his story. And she's making sure the world knows the truth. That Andre the Giant wasn't just a giant. He was a brilliant kid who loved math, a soccer player, a farm worker, a man in constant pain who did what he had to do to survive, a father who didn't know how to be present, a person, just a person. And Robin made sure we remember that. She made sure we see past the size, past the legend, to the real human being underneath. That's her legacy, not her height, not her weight. Her legacy is truth. Her legacy is dignity. Her legacy is making sure Andre the Giant is remembered as Andre the person. And that makes her bigger than any measurement ever could.